Don is with us. I'm sorry, I thought that we had Don on tape. My apologies. Don, again, tell us where you are in proximity to the school and what you saw happen today.
Sure. Good afternoon. We live maybe about 300 yards from Evergreen High School, so just down Olive Road, and that's kind of a dirt single road that a lot of the kids use to drive back and forth to school. It was probably like shortly after I had finished eating lunch, around 12:30 or so, and all of a sudden there was just this pounding on our front door. And I mean, I could tell by the pounding that something bad had happened. I figured maybe there was an accident out on the road in front of here. But when I opened the door, there was about 7 young men, and they were screaming, "There's a shooter up at the school. There's a shooter up at the school. Let us in, please." And I said, yeah, get in here quick, shelter. And following them was probably about another 10 kids or so. So we had a total, I took all their names down, we wrote up a list, and we had a total of 18 and one adult. So there was about 15 boys and 3 girls. And I just told them to stay here where they're safe, and until we figured out what was going on. And it wasn't shortly after that we started to hear police sirens heading up there. I couldn't get a lot out of the students. And again, who knows what they saw or experienced. But I do know one of the young men told me that he heard gunshots. The young man who told me this, was in the cafeteria at the time. And he said they just bolted out the cafeteria doors and just scattered and ran for any house that was available that somebody was home at. One of the problems we have, and I think one of the reasons why law enforcement is still combing the area, is we've got a lot of wild open land up here full of ponderosas. Just to the, I guess you'd say, southeast of the school. So I think a lot of students ran up there for protection, were hiding in the woods too.
Yeah, that's interesting perspective,
that makes
Don.
sense.
So when these young people came to you, the first question I was going to ask you is whether they chose to leave the school or whether somebody told them to leave. But it sounds like they just bolted for an exit when they had the opportunity. Did these kids did they have phones on them? Were they able to use your phone? Were they able to get in touch with their parents quickly?
Yeah, Kyle, that's exactly what we did. Is we asked them to go ahead and try and call their folks, let them know they're okay, but to please tell their parents not to come up here, because I knew right away that law enforcement was going to have this area absolutely surrounded and traffic would be a nightmare. So I was waiting to hear where there would be a collection area where parents could go in and reunify with the students. And, first we heard it was Wilcox Elementary, and I took some of the boys up there, but there was no way to get up the road there. And law enforcement told us to head back this direction. So eventually they decided to walk over to the library. By that time they had calmed down. They said, yeah, they felt safe. Their parents were going to pick them up. We had a couple of parents, though, who did drive up to our house and individually pick up their student. And so I went ahead and wrote down, names of who took who and that kind of thing. My wife has been a nurse of over 30 years. We're both retired, living up here in Evergreen. So her skills came in handy. She was able to calm these kids down, treat them for shock. We gave them some glasses of water. We comforted them. I had 25 years teaching teenagers too in public school. So I was familiar with lockdown drills and things like that. So, yeah, I hope they feel like they ran to the right house.
That's the first thing I thought of. They did run to the right house, and thank goodness you were there and to offer them that support. It sounds like you're even traumatized by experiencing that, by hearing them come running and banging on your door and asking for help under these circumstances.
Yeah, it's definitely a scary situation. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we didn't know if this shooter had followed them out, and was going through the woods or down the street here and shooting. But I think lots of my neighbors around here also did a wonderful job of giving shelter to any of these young men and young women. I just feel so sorry for them. And obviously, I'm praying for those 3 families and for their 3 kids. It's just a horrible thing to happen on this Wednesday today. And, we live up here in Evergreen. Evergreen's supposed to be this, beautiful kind of secluded area and peaceful and calm. And yeah, not today.
It's a special spot. It really is. People choose to live there for a reason, and that's just, yeah, Evergreen is beautiful. It's just a beautiful place.
Yeah, we're so sorry this happened
today,
in your community, Don, but so grateful that you and your wife were in that place to help comfort and care
And you were the
those
right
kids.
people at the right time.
Yeah.
Given what your wife does and what you did, and to be there for them, I don't think you'll ever understand what it meant to those young people to have you open the door and bring them in and help them reach their parents.
And for their
They
parents.
were very appreciative.
Yes.
You know, they all said, thank you very much when they left here and everything. And I said, well, of course, that's what we do. And again, like I said, many of my neighbors did the same thing too. So,
Yeah. Don, can I ask you, you talked about how you first hear the kids knock on the door, they tell you what's going on, you get them inside the house, and then at some point you hear law enforcement coming up, and we know that there was just this massive response, both of people who were dispatched and then other folks who heard the call and just came up the hill to help. Do you have any sense, given how chaotic this all was, of how long it was between the kids at your door and then hearing law enforcement in the neighborhood?
not really. And I apologize, but I was so focused on the kids.
Sure.
So.
Sure. No worries. I was just curious about that timeline. And again, you said that the students that you spoke with said that they heard gunshots. Did any of them represent anything to you about seeing anything, or just they heard something that they knew was danger and they were out?
Right. I did ask a couple of them because I thought if, law enforcement comes up here, they might want to have some sort of identification of who they think the shooter was. And I asked several students, did you know who the shooter was? Can you give me any sort of ID? And none of them could. They said they just heard shots. They just ran. So.
Well.
You talked about that dirt road and that whole area. You're very familiar how difficult it is to get in and around and how hard it was for those parents that are trying to rush to that scene as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Don Seigan, thank you so much for taking the time to share your perspective with us. Thank you for being there for those kids and for their families and for your community. Man, God bless you and your wife.
You're a hero to all of them.
Thank you for what you did today. And I know you're going to say that you and your neighbors just did what you needed to do, but you did though. You did though, and that meant everything to those families. I am certain of it. So, Don, thank you very much. Please thank your wife as well for us.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care.